We're here today to talk about what we're doing to keep our communities safe. As we see gun violence continue to rise in our cities, and unfortunately Surrey and the Lower Mainland are no exception, we have an obligation to take action. Today we're joined by families and advocates, people who've been at the forefront of the fight for tougher gun control for years. People like Eileen Mohan, who lost her son to a stray bullet when he was only 22, 16 years ago this week. Thank you for all your leadership and your courage. When people are being killed, when people are being hurt, responsible leadership requires us to act. Recently, again, we've seen too many examples of horrific tragedies involving firearms. Il y a 2 ans, notre gouvernement a interdit 1,500 modèles d'armes d'assaut.
Our government banned 1,500 firearms such as the Ruger and the IR-15. We've also beefed up the background check verifications.
Our government introduced measures to implement a national freeze on handgun ownership. Today, our national freeze on handguns is coming into force. From today forward, it is no longer legal to buy, sell, or transfer a handgun in Canada. We have frozen the market for handguns in this country, and our ban on imports that took effect in August remains in place. This is one of the strongest actions we've taken on gun violence in a generation. Aujourd'hui, le gel national des armes de poing
the national freeze on handguns comes into force. It is now illegal to buy, sell, or transfer a handgun in Canada. We are freezing the market in order to reduce the number of handguns in the country. This is one of the strongest measures that has been taken to control firearms in a generation.
Over time is to see the amount of handguns in our communities reduced. Let me share with you some statistics to illustrate why this is so important. The number of handguns in Canada has increased by 70% since 2010. Since 2011, firearms-related homicides have gone up nearly 40%, and handguns were the most commonly used weapon. 1 of every 3 girls and women killed by an abuser is murdered with a gun. The presence of a handgun in a home increases the likelihood of self-harm or suicide. Keeping each other safe from gun violence means keeping women, children, and families safe, and it prevents self-harm. That's why we're taking actions today, so that what happened to the loved ones of Eileen and so many others never happens again. Of course, freezing handgun ownership is not the only thing we're doing to prevent gun violence. Before 2015, the previous Conservative government cut nearly $1 billion from law enforcement agencies. But this is not our vision for safer communities. Our Liberal government is reinforcing our borders and giving law enforcement the tools and resources they need to stop illegal gun smuggling. This includes major investments to address gun violence and keep guns out of the hands of gangs and criminals. With this funding, the CBSA can deploy new technology like scanners that can X-ray an entire truck in a matter of minutes. The work we've been doing over the past years is working. Last year, we interdicted nearly twice the amount of illegal guns coming across our border as we had the year before, and we're not stopping that work. On top of that, we're moving forward to increase maximum criminal penalties for gun-related crimes. As of 2 years ago, it is no longer legal to buy, sell, or use assault weapons in Canada, and we're implementing a mandatory buyback. We'll continue working together with provinces, territories, Indigenous communities, and municipalities to build safer communities free from firearm violence. On va continuer d'écouter les conseils des médecins,
we will continue to listen to the expert advice of police and doctors on the consequences of violence. We will continue to be there for families and those who are demanding that we do more to protect our communities.
Again, I want to thank the advocates, those who are here today and those out across the country. Thank you for your strength. Thank you for your perseverance. For too many of you, loss and grief is at the heart of what brings you here today. And we are deeply grateful that you continue to stand for a better Canada. We thank you for all those efforts to build a safer future for all our kids, for all our communities. Before I pass it to Marco, I want to highlight that I know you had the opportunity to visit the Burnaby detachment of the RCMP this morning. Our hearts go out to the family of Constable Shaylin Yang, and of course that means her family, but also her larger family of RCMP, of police and peace officers across the province and across the country who stand with her. We continue to remain pledged to doing everything we can to ensure that our communities are safer, to make sure that people suffering from mental health and those mental health challenges and distress, and those who are on the front lines to help them and serve them are able to get the support and resources they need. Merci tout le monde. Je suis content de passer la parole
Thank you,
à Marco
everyone.
Mendicino.
I'd like to pass the floor to Marco Mendicino.
Merci, Premier Ministre. Bonjour tout le monde.
Prime Minister.
And,
hello,
thank
everyone.
you to Randeep and our entire caucus in Surrey and in the Greater Vancouver area for the stellar leadership that you are showing, not only on public safety but on affordability and a wide range of issues. I want to thank you as well, Eileen, for being here, and I'll come to you in a moment. But before I move to the substance of the announcement, which the Prime Minister, of course, covered, I do want to take a moment to express, on behalf of the Prime Minister and our government, our profound sympathies to Shaylin Yang, the constable who worked in the Burnaby detachment, who sadly lost her life. In speaking with the team that she worked with this morning, I was struck by her dedication and her passion not only to keeping our communities safe, but to mental health issues. Prior to becoming a Mountie, she was an advocate and then was recruited to work on the front lines. And the other thing that I learned from her team this morning was that she was a warrior. And it's quite clear to me from the way in which they imparted the events of that tragic day to me that had she not stood up with bravery and courage, that more lives would have been lost. And so to her father, who I know is here, to her partner, Simone, to all of the family of the policing community here in Burnaby and across the country, our hearts go out to you, and we will continue to do whatever we can. And indeed, this has been a difficult time for the law enforcement community. Yesterday, in my home province of Ontario, I was present at the funeral of the two fallen police officers in South Simcoe, to Constables Northrup and Russell. We heard similar stories. In both cases, from their colleagues. Constable Northrup had finished his shift that night before he went out into the community. And he took that call voluntarily. And Constable Russell had 33 years on in service, and he could have retired 3 years ago. And this is the uncommon dedication that we see across the country. The women and men who put on the uniform, who put on the badge, who are trying to keep our community safe, who are prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice every day that I'm thinking about today. I'm thinking about them. I'm thinking about the families like Eileen. And the last time we were here was in the spring, and I remember, Eileen, it was around May 31st, which was Christopher's birthday, and today we're here in and around the anniversary of his death. And even though those are two difficult bookends to a life that was tragically cut short by gun violence, it is his memory, it is you that inspires us to do the work that we are doing today. It is all of the advocates, I wish that everybody could see, but they're all here, from municipal leadership to local grassroots organizations like SAFE and Options. I cannot thank you enough. As the Prime Minister said, it is because of your perseverance through that tragedy and through that loss that we are able to do the work that we are doing today, which of course includes the national handgun freeze. And the Prime Minister has outlined the highlights, but just to underline it, going forward today, it will be illegal to buy, sell, transfer, or bequeath handguns. This is a significant stride forward towards smart, sensible gun policy to keep our communities safe. Why are we taking this decision? Because we've seen gun crime go up. We've seen handgun crime go up. 45 to 55,000 new registrations on average for the last decade, while at the same time seeing handguns overtake and become the #1 type of gun used in homicides. C'est inacceptable. Ça, c'est la raison qu'il faut
It's unacceptable, and this is why we need to freeze these. This is a file that affects everyone. It doesn't matter where Canadians live, in urban communities such as here in Surrey, or even in rural communities.
I want to say that the step that we are taking today is part of a broader agenda to reduce gun violence. And one of the unique features of our government is we don't believe in just picking one lane when it comes to solving this complex problem. You need smart laws, you need sensible laws, which is why even as we move forward with this provision today, we're going to work with all parliamentarians to pass Bill C-21 into law. We've got to get that law passed as quickly as possible. It will not only reinforce the national handgun freeze, it will give law enforcement the additional tools that they need to tackle organized crime, hardened criminals who are terrorizing our communities through gun trafficking, whether at our borders or domestically, by raising maximum sentences against those who pose the greatest risk to our communities, by giving police additional surveillance powers to bust up the organized criminal networks that are trafficking guns across borders. We need to pass that law. We need to make sure that we make good on our commitment to implement the buyback program on a national ban for assault-style rifles, because those guns have no place in any community. They were designed for one purpose, and that is to kill people using maximum lethal force in the shortest period of time, and with the partnership of our many, many stakeholders, including provinces and territories. We're going to get that done. And finally, we need to stop gun crime from occurring in the first instance. And I'm so proud of the leadership, Prime Minister, you have shown, our government has shown in launching the Building Safer Communities Fund, which is a program designed to partner with the people who are in this room, who know where the risks are, who know when young people meet that fork in the road, how we can empower them to have that sense of belonging, of confidence to make the right choices. And we're going to roll out that fund even more quickly than we have in the past. And it's only by doing these three things together that we can truly eradicate gun violence once and for all. And we owe it. We owe it to everybody. We owe it to the victims and families who have been touched, whether you're talking about Portapique and Truro and Nova Scotia, les familles des survivants de la tragédie au Québec,
survivors
de la
of the tragedy
ou la mosque
at the Polytechnique in Quebec, or at the mosque.
In my hometown, the families and the survivors from the Toronto Danforth shooting, or right here in British Columbia with Eileen, so that there isn't another tragedy like that again. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Now I'm getting a little friendly advice, as I always do, from the Prime Minister, and I'm going to introduce Eileen, please. Here we go.
October 19th marked the 16th anniversary of my son, Christopher, who was stolen from the doorsteps of my home. And during the trial of Christopher, I presented a victim impact statement, and I said, our forefathers should have first invented life before we invented death. And whenever I had an opportunity to do a rally and advocacy in my son's memory, I always said an elected official's first and foremost priority is public safety and security. And never in my lifetime I thought that I would see a day like this that would come about, that we will choose life over death. And this freeze will impact our future society. Choosing life, it takes a political will and a political courage to make it happen. It is not a popular law, a freeze. It has not made some people happy, but leaders are not chosen to make people happy. They are there to lead and to act for the future generation. And today, the Liberal government has chosen life over death. And I want to thank the Prime Minister and his leadership of choosing life and not taking into effect of the setbacks that this will bring. I think people in the future will bring about and talk about this aspect and this day that we chose life over death for our future generation. And I want to say that a huge thank you to the Prime Minister and to the Liberal government for bringing this legislation forward, that if tomorrow I die, I know that my son's life did not go in, his death did not go in vain. And I am rejoicing that in my lifetime, I am seeing this day that we are choosing life over death. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. I want to thank her for her advocacy, Minister Mendicino and the Prime Minister. In the 7 years that we've had government and I've been involved with youth violence and gun violence, I've never seen a very proactive, a very engaged cabinet as those that are behind me. I think the Prime Minister, Minister Mendicino, has come and met stakeholders, victims, advocates, law enforcement on every single time, and every ask that the community has asked, they've delivered on, from bringing a forensic lab, a state-of-the-art lab to help solve crimes, to beefing up security at our borders and our ports, to bringing very tough gun legislation that, as Eileen said, for some people is not very popular, but I think most Canadians feel that it's the right time to take assault rifles and handguns off. So I really want to thank, on behalf of the members of Parliament from Surrey and Lower Mainland, all the listening and advocacy and then actual results that this government has been doing. So now I think Cecily will take over and take questions. And once again, thank you on behalf of all of us here in Surrey and the Lower Mainland. Cecily, over to you.
Thanks. So we'll now have time for questions from reporters, and on a maintenant du temps pour prendre des questions des journalistes. For starting with CP.
Thank you very much. I have a couple of questions from my colleagues in Ottawa. Firstly, they've heard that the opposition parties, including the Bloc and the NDP, will vote in committee to water down the federal handgun freeze by exempting thousands of recreational shooting club members across the country. Will your government let this happen?
I know how much Quebecers are preoccupied with the rise in gun violence, so it would surprise me if the Bloc were to actually water down these provisions. I know how much progressive Canadians from coast to coast to coast are expecting this government and this Parliament to move forward on strong measures like the ban on assault weapons we brought in 2 years ago, and this freeze on handguns that means it is no longer legal to buy, sell, or transfer handguns anywhere in this country as of today. So it would surprise me greatly for progressive parties like the NDP to stand in the way of strengthening gun legislation and keeping communities safe. Je pense que tout le monde sait à quel point les Québécois
I think everyone knows
à ce qu'on
how much
continue de renforcer le contrôle des armes à feu.
expect that we continue to strengthen firearm control.
Le Bloc est très conscient
I know that
de
the
ce
Bloc
que
is
les
very
Québécois
aware
demandent.
of what
Et je sais que les
Québecers are
Canadiens
asking.
d'un bout à l'autre de ce pays
I know that
progressistes
Canadians
veulent
across
avoir
the
plus de
country
contrôle des armes à feu.
would like
Alors
to
ça me
see
surprendrait
greater gun control.
énormément que le NPD
So it would surprise
choisisse
me
d'affaiblir le
enormously
contrôle
if the
des armes à feu qu'on est
NDP
en train de
chose
proposer.
to stand in the
Depuis
way
2 ans, il est
of the
maintenant
firearm controls
illégal
legislation we are proposing.
d'acheter, de vendre
For 2 years,
ou
it's been
d'utiliser
illegal
des
to
armes
buy,
d'assaut.
sell,
Et
or
à partir
use assault-style weapons.
On ne peut plus
And
acheter,
starting
vendre
today,
ou transférer des armes de
You can no
poing.
longer buy,
Ça
sell,
me
or
surprendrait
transfer
énormément que les
handguns.
partis progressistes essayent d'affaiblir ces mesures-là.
And it would surprise me if progressive parties chose to stand in the way
In
of
the
that.
recordings released yesterday between Commissioner Lucky and the Nova Scotia RCMP, the commissioner confirmed that she was responding to a request from a minister about firearms and stressed that your government was in the middle of trying to get firearms legislation going. What can you say to assure Canadians that this wasn't a sign the government was meddling in a police investigation?
In the days and weeks following the horrific massacre in Portapique, a killing that left communities reeling, families grieving, and Canadians from coast to coast to coast shocked. Canadians and those families wanted answers. We wanted to make sure that those families got as many answers as they could as quickly as possible, which is part of why we launched the public inquiry that's going on right now. But every step of the way, we recognized and supported the fact that the RCMP and police of jurisdiction are the ones who decide what is released and when. They make decisions about how to balance the need of the public to get answers and the need to protect the integrity of investigations. And as we saw in this case, it was the police that months later made that decision to release more information. We will always ask on behalf of Canadians for more answers, but we always ensure that the RCMP and police officers can do their jobs.
Okay, next question, CBC.
En français, oui. Nous savons que dans les jours et les semaines qui ont suivi
We know that in the days and weeks
cette
that followed,
tuerie horrible
this
à Portapique, en
horrible
Nouvelle-Écosse,
killing
les
in
familles,
Portapique,
la
Nova
communauté,
Scotia,
les Canadiens voulaient des
families,
réponses. C'est
the
pour ça que
community, and
d'ailleurs,
Canadians
nous
wanted
avons
answers.
maintenant une enquête publique sur
That is
ce
why
qui
we
s'est
now
passé
have
à
a
ce
public
moment-là.
inquiry
Alors
into
oui,
what happened
nous avions
at that event.
demandé et nous voulions voir
So
toute
yes, we
l'information
know.
nécessaire
We want to
sortir pour
see
donner
all
des
of the
réponses aux
information
Canadiens,
come
mais en
out to
même
give
temps, nous
Canadians
savions et nous
answers.
respections toujours le
But
fait
we
que
know,
c'est
and we will
seulement la
always respect the
police
fact
qui
that
détermine quelles
it's
réponses
only
ils
the
peuvent
police
donner
that
en
can
public
determine
et
the
quelles
response
réponses ils ne peuvent pas
required,
donner pour ne pas mettre
and to
en
know
péril
which response is not
l'intégrité
possible
de
in order
l'enquête
to
qui est en
not
cours. Et à
endanger
ce niveau-là, on a
the
toujours
conduct of the
respecté
investigation
cette
underway.
indépendance et cette
And we
autonomie
need to
des
respect that
policiers.
independence of police services.
CBC.
Hi there. Thanks for taking our questions. The SKS rifle was used by the BC manhunt suspects, the Fredericton shooter, and most recently in the shooting deaths of 2 officers in Innisfil, Ontario. But it's not on the prohibited or buyback list. Why is that, and are there any plans to ban the SKS rifle in Canada?
I'm happy to turn it over to Minister Mendicino, who can speak to that. Marco?
Well, first, our thoughts go out to those frontline officers who lost their lives during the line of duty as a result of the gun violence that we've seen. And when it comes to the measures that we have already introduced, we put in place a very ambitious plan to ban nationally assault-style rifles and to then, by extension, launch a buyback program to get those assault-style rifles out of our communities once and for all. When we introduced Bill C-21, we said that as a government, we would be amenable to working with all parties to make sure that we had the right policies as it relates to assault-style rifles. And that is precisely the work that the Standing Committee on Public Safety is doing right now. So they will be looking at models, they will be looking at exactly the kind of examples that you have cited, and providing recommendations to the government, which we have said we will thoughtfully and carefully consider once we receive. But it is important to underscore to you and to your viewers and all Canadians that that work has to be undertaken independently at this stage, that the work of Parliament at the committee stage is undertaken by the membership of those who sit on the committee. In fact, we have one of those members with us today, MP Nur Mohammed, who has been an outstanding advocate when it comes to making sure that we get our gun policies right, including Bill C-21, and I look forward to working with him and all the members of that committee to continue to debate this issue very carefully. Donc, tout d'abord, on avait introduit une bannière nationale pour des armes
we introduced a national ban on assault-style firearms 2 years ago. This is a very concrete measure that has been implemented. As an extension, we also implemented a mandatory buyback program for all those assault-style weapons. There is no reason to allow this type of weapon in our communities. The public safety community and Parliament is carefully examining the issue. They're looking into other types of assault-style weapons as well that may be banned. However, this work is underway right now in the communities and is independent. We are open to opportunities to work with the community and all partners and stakeholders on this important issue.
This is for the Prime Minister. You had reacted to David Eby, slated to becoming the BC NDP leader, clearing the way for him to be Premier of BC. Wondering if you could just do that in French, if you don't mind.
Okay. But actually, I wanted to follow up on Marco's comments and on your question on the assault weapons ban. As of 2 years ago, it became illegal to buy, sell, or use assault weapons anywhere in this country. And we saw Canadians overwhelmingly supportive of this measure to interdict guns that were designed to kill the largest number of people in the shortest amount of time possible, as easily as possible. That is something that we have done. Unfortunately, we see Conservative premiers trying to play the worst kinds of politics in opposition to this measure, which, let's be very clear, assault weapons are illegal to use, to sell, or to buy in Canada now. What the premiers are proposing by objecting to the buyback is to make it simply more difficult for people who currently own those guns that are now illegal to use, to sell, or to buy, to actually be compensated for those guns as we move forward with a buyback. That's the kind of politics that Canadians don't want to see around gun violence, around moving forward on these important measures. Soyons très clairs sur ce que les premiers ministres conservateurs de certaines provinces sont en train de dire par rapport à notre interdiction d'armes d'assaut.
The ban on assault weapons.
Leurs propositions et leurs objections à notre programme de rachat obligatoire
program, the mandatory buyback program, will simply make it more difficult for those who currently own these now banned weapons to be compensated for those weapons. Those weapons are now illegal. It's illegal to buy, sell, or use them. It's politics, pure and simple. But we will remain focused on the job we need to do to protect Canadians. Regarding the next Premier of BC, David Eby, I would just like to say that I am very pleased to be able to continue on with the good work that we've been doing with the BC government for many years now. I always worked very well together with Premier Horgan. He's had an impact on initiatives that are important not just to residents of BC, but to all Canadians. I'm eager to be able to continue on with that work now with David Eby. I know that we share a number of issues, challenges, and solutions, and I look forward to working with him in the weeks, months, and years to come.
Yeah, switching gears a little bit, Minister Freeland has kind of changed her tone on the economy and warned Canadians that tough times are ahead. That came this week. And Mark Carney also told the Senate committee yesterday that a recession is likely. So I know you've mentioned in this announcement and yesterday some of the cost of living relief measures. How else, is your government now operating on the assumption that a recession is likely, and what other preparations are you making?
First of all, every conversation I have with Canadians across this country over these past weeks and months has reflected the challenges people are facing with rising costs of groceries, with difficulty around filling their tanks up with gas, concerns about the coming winter, concerns about rising interest rates and the costs on their mortgages. We know Canadians are worried. That is why we're putting forward measures to double the GST tax credit and deliver a check for 11 million households in the coming weeks. That'll make a real difference. And we're also moving forward on support for families of kids under 12 who can't afford to send them to the dentist. And we're moving forward on direct support for low-income renters as well. These are measures that we hope that all parliamentarians are going to be able to pass and endorse. Unfortunately, Conservative politicians continue to try and block our support on dental and rental, but Canadians need that support. But let me also be very clear that that support is targeted. We know that we need to help people who need help without putting at risk our fiscal stability or contributing further to inflation. That's why remaining fiscally responsible and measured in our response is essential because we have to prepare for whatever might come in the coming weeks and months. We've made a commitment to be there for Canadians as a government, and we will, with direct targeted supports for those who need it most, and the ability to respond in case things get worse for families across the country.
Okay. Next and last.
Français. Nous savons que les familles à travers le pays
we know that families across the country are struggling. We know that there are challenges with grocery bills, the cost of energy, especially with the coming winter. We know there are issues with the costs of living and housing and increasing costs. This is why we have put forward concrete measures to help Canadians. This includes doubling the GST credit, which will be sent to 11 million households, whether that is dental care for children or help for low-income renters. These are measures we have passed in the House, and we hope that the Conservatives will stop blocking the proposed dental care and low-income and support for low-income renters. At the same time that we have this targeted support for people who need it, we are also in the process of preparing. We're preparing for the challenges still to come. We need to remain focused, and we need to remain fiscally responsible. We will continue to be there to help Canadians if the economy takes a downturn.
Welcome to Sri, Prime Minister, and also congratulations, Marco and you, for the bill to ban the handguns. The people standing here, they are in our backyard. That's welcome addition. My question is to your last comment, Prime Minister, is we have a lot of well-needed spending during COVID and now. Eventually, your government's plan to balance the books and how we eventually see a balanced budget.
Yeah. Thank you, CJ, for your question. I know a lot of families are worried about their household finances and grateful for the help that the federal government had given during the pandemic, and also grateful for the help that we are sending now in a targeted way for those families who need it most. But Canadians are also worried about fiscal responsibility so that we can be sure to have the ability to respond in case the economy deteriorates. Let me be very clear. We went into this pandemic with the best fiscal balance sheet of any country in the G7. And then during the pandemic, we used that to support Canadians, to support families, to support seniors, to support small businesses, to support workers. And the reason we did that was because that was the best way to make sure we got through this pandemic in the best and healthiest way possible, but also because we knew that investing to support Canadians who needed it during these extreme times was the best way to bring our economy roaring back as quickly as possible after the pandemic. And that's exactly what happened. Our economy came back faster and stronger than most other comparable countries. We recovered the jobs we'd lost since February 2002, 6 months earlier than the US did, because we were there to support restaurants, small businesses, workers, families, seniors. So it wasn't just the right thing to do to support Canadians, it was also the smart thing to do and the responsible thing that leaves us on a better fiscal track than many other countries that are still struggling to get their economies going again after COVID. Similarly, through this inflation crisis, we know that targeted support for people who need it the most is exactly how we ensure that Canadians in general, that our economy in general, weathers the coming economic storm, if it arrives, better than most as well. We will be there to support Canadians because we know that the best thing to do to help Canadians is to create an economy that works for all Canadians. That's been our focus since day one. That is how we've been able to lift over 2 million people out of poverty over the past 7 years, even as we've created millions upon millions of new good jobs. That's what Canadians expect. That's what responsible government does. That's what we're going to continue to do.